meeting to order. If I could have roll, please, Brad.
Handback.
Here.
Jones. Absent. Spar. Absent. Warham.
Here.
Kelso.
Here.
Butterfield. Here. Bartholomew.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you. Everybody's had a chance to look at the minutes from the April 25th meeting. There's no amendments. I hear a motion for approval.
I move we approve. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed the same. Approved.
Before we start tonight, council would like to just read a brief description of the zoning board.
Thank you. Public hearing is being held tonight pursuant to published notice. Any person wishing to address the zoning board will be sworn in by our court reporter and will give their testimony under oath or affirmation. At the conclusion of the public hearing, the zoning board of appeals will make its determination. 4 yes votes are required to obtain the ZBA's approval. The purpose of the public hearing is for the zoning board of appeals to hear testimony regarding whether the proposed variance meets the required legal standards for a variance to be issued as set forth in village code and state law. The purpose of the hearing is not to consider comment on generally whether a certain project is or is not a good idea. Relevant factors for the zoning board of appeals to consider include: 1, whether the denial of a variance would cause a particular hardship to the owner because of the conditions of the specific property involved. 2, any unique attributes of the property which are not generally applicable to other properties in this zoning district. 3, whether the proposed variance is requested purely for economic gain. 4, whether any particular difficulties have been caused by the applicant. 5, whether granting the variance will be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to other property in the area. And 6, whether the proposed variance will impair adequate light or air to adjacent properties, cause traffic problems, impair property values, or endanger public safety. Rules of order govern the conduct of tonight's public hearing. No one should speak unless and until recognized by the chair, and any speaker should follow the directions of our chair.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll start with our first case tonight is number 22-04. A variance has been requested for property located at 41 Gray Wolf Court. The petitioner seeks a variance from ordinance number 99-42 relative to accessory structures and size requirements. The maximum allowable size of an accessory structure is 480 square feet. The petitioner is requesting an accessory structure that will be 1,660 square feet. This will result in a variance of 1,180 square feet. Would who's ever going to speak this case stand up, and our court reporter will swear you in. Whoever wants to be first can. First, the court reporter will swear you in. If you step to the podium, just state your name and address, and you can give your presentation.
Okay, I am John Rose. I am my wife Suzanne and I are the owners of 41 Gray Wolf Court. And we are petitioning for this variance so that we can install a photovoltaic, commonly known solar panel system. The reason for it is so we can do a ground mount. The house itself, the roof system, there's a lot of angles and planes, and it really breaks it up to where you can't put many panels on it. So we were going to go with ground mount, looking to hopefully replace most of the energy usage of the house and be able to get into that renewable energy world that, as I'm sure on the board you are aware of, all the support the federal government, the state government, and even in the code it recognizes the benefits of that. So I know in looking at things on the website it would say keep it short, keep it sweet, keep it to the point. I'm assuming everybody's read through the petition and everything. So if I could, I printed out where we're proposing to site it.
Yeah.
And would like to discuss some on that.
Yeah, we'll pass.
Thank you.
So it's where you have it right now.
I wasn't quite sure how many copies to make, so I'm one short. I apologize for that. So we went through kind of the due diligence thing of getting multiple quotes, and every installer was plopping it right down in the middle of the rear yard. And we're like, nah, it's not so good because it's obviously going to have greater impact on the neighbors, especially our neighbor to the north. And so we are proposing to site it more towards the southwest corner and kind of snug it in there as we can. We can't go too deep because for a couple of reasons, there is an easement along that border for the sewer. And then also with the properties that are to the west and south, with those trees, you get into too much shading. In order to keep it in that corner, it's broken into 2 rows, and you can see in the drawing there's a 3rd row kind of behind it, and what that would be what we're looking at is putting in arborvitaes, a long row or double row of those to do some screening to minimize and hopefully once they grow up, eliminate any impact to the view that our neighbors to the north would have. They have a good view of our backyard. I did go around to the neighbors in the neighborhood, and obviously, I don't know if Joel plans to speak or not, but he did have concerns about the view and seemed to be happy with what we were planning to do. The other neighbors kind of ranged from really curious because they had looked at doing systems themselves to not really caring, and they were like, okay, thank you for talking to me. Let's see, what else? Are there any questions for me?
Now, when I drive by and look at this and see this, all your structures built already, that's exactly where it's at, right? On this?
Yeah, that's where that was at. That was kind of a timing thing with my installer getting busy, not getting to the village in time. He went the day after to pull it and then found out that we had this issue. So it was like, okay, we stop.
Yeah.
If we get the variance, awesome. If not, we have to make a new plan and unfortunately undo the work that was done.
So how much square footage is actually on the roofs? If you kind of put all those together that are facing that same...
I didn't
location.
calculate that. I did walk around and just tried to imagine, as I understand the panels, they are 3.5 foot by 7 foot a panel, and just kind of counted up, and I didn't get much past the mid-teens as far as what I thought could fit on there. There is one house, I kind of drove around the neighborhood to see if anyone else had done solar, and there's one up at the corner as you come in at, I think it's 120 Wolf Crossing, that did it. And I think their system, targets the same size as ours. By my count, they actually have 5 more panels than we would have on their roof, but it's almost like someone designed the house for doing solar, because it faces straight south and it's a nice, big, flat, expansive roof. But they pretty much carpeted the roof too.
But nobody has made that calculation.
I don't believe so. Did you do any?
We'll have to.
Yeah,
swear.
but okay.
Swear him in.
Well, I'll defer that question to
Okay.
my installer if he did any. I just eyeballed it. And most of the panels in that case, the ones that would end up facing east or west as well, and you lose a lot of efficiency on the panels versus facing south at that point.
It's just asking a lot on the variance part with our 480 feet. I mean, that's asking putting a huge,
It is. I know it's a large home,
Yeah.
quite obviously. For a more usual 2,000-ish square foot home, a lot of it doesn't add to the load. So you end up being anywhere about half the size of what we're proposing to maybe a little less. It would range based upon, if the house is all electric or whatever. But at that, a usual size home won't fit in 480 as a ground mount either.
Yeah.
So, I would just raise that point.
Yeah, I personally, I don't like it, because it's asking a whole, a lot for us as a board to, go past the ordinance that we have by that much. I mean, I see where you're coming from, but.
Yeah, I would, say that it's a fairly unique property in being able to do this on it and not particularly impact any of the neighboring properties. I kind of gauged it off of the plat drawing for the subdivision, and if you measure from where we're proposing to site it, the only neighbors that are barely within the 250 feet from where it's being sited would be the neighbor to the north and
Yeah.
to the east. So it's pretty tucked back in there.
Would this be, from a from a procedural point of view, would this be better, the ordinance itself? If this is going to be the future, renewable energy and ground mounts, and I know that's outside the realm of this board.
Yeah, any ordinance changes, I'm sorry to interrupt you, any ordinance changes that go through the plan commission, there's different ways those can be initiated at the board level. And so that can be initiated by the village board. A citizen can come to the village board and ask the board to consider it. Plan commission can initiate those changes as well, so.
I guess my 2 cents is I doubt you're going to have very many requests like this coming to you.
Yeah.
Simply because there aren't that many lots in Morton that are of this size, and especially in town, the houses seem to have more traditional roof lines to them. They're more ranch or just
Yeah.
more kind of
Did
a
you guys
two-story
ever,
with
did you
really
ever think
flat
about
roofs.
just doing the 480 square foot worth of the ground mount and put the rest on the roof? I mean, just make it legal, and it's pretty easy to, fit the zoning.
The rough guess is that the roof wouldn't take that many panels. The roof might take, like I said, I walked around and just
There's a lot of
eyeball
roof
counted
there.
them.
I
There's
mean,
a lot of roof.
there.
Unfortunately, it's broken up. I actually did go around and count
Yeah.
the number of individual faces and planes, and I think I got up to 34. Because there's a lot of gables and,
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah,
things
it
to
definitely
it that
could.
really break it up.
I mean, is it even possible to do a combination where you've got 480 on the ground and then some on the roof? Or
If we
Until
want to, if you want,
Until he
want-
swears in, you can't compel him to testify. If he swears in and testifies, you could ask him that if he
Okay.
declines to.
if you want to stand up and be sworn in, then it'd
Get
probably be
sworn
easier
in.
for you to answer.
Andy?
And if you could just step to the podium and give us your name and address.
My name's Andy Schwank. I'm with A&J Solar. I live on Allentown Road, 27110 Allentown Road, Tremont. I do have a list of bulleted points here addressing each of the variance considerations point by point if you want to see them.
Yeah.
A lot of them he's
Yeah,
kind of
go ahead.
already discussed. I would point out too that we're really only seeking a portion of the variance because it's well within the 1.6% of the lot that the variance also considers, or the zoning code considers. And I think that in itself speaks to the fact that this is an unusual situation, because there's, a typical city lot would be third to a half an acre, and those two are somewhat commensurate. So when you get out into this unique situation with a 4-acre lot, and it's surrounded by very few homes, mostly woods and parks and railroads, it does present a unique situation. In direct response to your question, you can do combinations. It's just a lot more work to tie everything together. We did look, when we first started, we looked at the roof, and I never came up with a specific plan because it was clear it wasn't going to be near enough to probably to make the project worthwhile at all. I think his, estimate of around 30 panels or so would be pretty accurate, which would be, you know, about a third of what they need. So that's kind of, you know, our point of view is the 1.6%. I was really focused on. I mean, we're looking at less than 1% of the total lot area, and I don't know if there's any of these specific points you want me to maybe hit on more so. He mentioned a lot of them already, or if there were any other specific questions I could answer.
I I would rather see the 480 than just put whatever you have to on the roof and make the thing pretty easy and clean as far as what we do, but you know. One thing I am going to ask right now, does anybody in the audience want to speak? Chuck, you want to just stand up and have Lee swear you in? Yeah. You guys can, if you guys want to have a seat while Chuck speaks, then we'll call you back.
Yeah, I'll keep it quick. Charles Rinkenberger, 2400 Cooper Road, Morton, Illinois. I'm the developer of Wolf Crossing, so I have a little bit of interest in this. And I also know that there's been a lot of requests from residents at Wolf Crossing that want structures larger than the 480 square feet. And I've discussed this with several of the board members in the past. And I just think that, you know, that when we put zoning together, when you guys came up with 480, square foot, solar wasn't an issue. It wasn't even thought about. And I think you guys need to come up with a plan to be able to allow some of these larger structures, especially for people that have larger lots that back up against railroad tracks, and to allow them to be able to do some things in their yard. It's their property. It doesn't affect the neighbors as much as they've already come up with a plan to be able to screen it so the neighbors would be satisfied, I believe. And so I think that's something that you guys need to really think about and consider, the long term, because the decision you make today is going to carry out to, the next guy that comes in here and wants the same thing. And I just think, with the structure size, I've had a lot of people request the larger outbuildings that have 5-acre lots that can't put only put 480 square foot in, that they could that nobody would ever see, that would be built, nice, that they should be able to do it, in my opinion. And I think you got to really consider what they're asking, and this needs to be thought about how you're going to handle this for all future, requests. So that's how I feel about it.
I appreciate it.
Any other questions of me?
Sure. No, I just appreciate you.
Yeah,
your
thanks.
comments.
Well, that I do too. That was kind of where I was.
Yeah.
I mean, we're a board with a task, and the ordinance is what it is. I don't disagree with what you said, but we can't change the ordinance here.
So that might be something for the city council, or, and I like big buildings for garages and stuff, so, but 480 is, but that's what we're kind of, that's our rules. And it's a tough decision, so I think if it comes to us and we deny it or whatever, I think maybe it comes in the future, we see what we can figure out. I don't know, it's very complicated, because you're going to get a lot that somebody can say, well, mine's just as unique as Wolf Crossing, but I'm in Orchard Hills, and I think it becomes it's hard to distinguish what's unique, and that's a hard definition. Granted, that is a big lot, but my small lot in town is just important, so I don't, it's one of those deals. I kind of don't like that argument, but I don't. Does anybody else have any questions, or anybody in the audience want to speak? I think they've answered all my questions. I mean, pretty much seen it. I think we're put in a pretty tough position on this deal. So if there are no more questions, do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move we vote on case number 2204 for the variance on the property of 41 Gray Wolf Court.
clarifying the motion, that's a motion to approve. We
Right, yeah.
procedurally always go with motion to approve, and then you're voting yea or nay to approval.
Second.
Second.
Butterfield,
No.
Hanback,
No.
Bartholomew,
No.
Kelso,
No.
Warren.
No.
Motion's not approved.
Variance obviously didn't go through. I guess the next step would be for you guys to remove the structure and maybe
Yes.
keep part of it and
Any person with an interest, and I'm not advising anybody to do this, but any person with an interest in asking the village board to change an ordinance can also go to the village board at a village board meeting on the first and third Monday here and ask the village board for consideration of an ordinance change.
all right. Well, on to the next case, case number 2205. The variance has been requested for property located at 600 North Main Street. The petitioner seeks a variance of ordinance number 78-31. The variance requested to permit a non-conforming building to be structurally altered and reconstructed within its bounding walls to an extent exceeding the aggregate cost of 25% of its fair market value, including land value. Who's ever going to speak to this case? Could you step front, Leo, swear you in? Just like step up to him, just state your name and address. I think we know your address.
My name is Sue Rose. I'm at 41 Gray Wolf Court, representing 600 North Main.
Okay. Yeah, if you just want to give a brief description what you plan on.
July 3rd, the home at 600 North Main caught fire and burnt, significant damage, and the insurance. It's still up in the air, but I think the last conversation I had with the owners that they are planning to call it, they were bringing in an engineer to see if they could save any part of it, but my understanding is they are calling it destroyed. And they asked the city for a quote for demolition, and they've been provided a few quotes, the insurance has. The property is being asked, the homeowners asked, if they tear it down and remove the foundation. The home was built in 1918, long before the setback requirements were in place today in Morton. They are requesting that they basically can have the same side setback variance of what they had before to rebuild the home and make the lot buildable again. Their plan, though, is it's a two-story home due to some issues with their health. They are wanting not to build a two-story, but more of a ranch. So they would like to tear down the detached garage, make the home a little longer and still facing Main Street, and then have an attached garage with it.
So this will be their house if they rebuild it. They're moving there. I mean this.
I don't know all the details. I mean, she would like to live back at Main Street again, but it's insurance has only allowed them so much, and costs. And I ballparked her some figures of rebuilding and what to expect, and so that's teetering in their head. They're not sure. They're not sure if it's best in their interest if they just want to make the lot buildable to sell it, or make the lot buildable to build themselves. It's right now nothing can be done with anything until content has been gone through, and they are on the second round of content. They had an enormous amount of antiques, and trying to settle with insurance hasn't been pleasant for them. So insurance won't allow anything to be demolished or anything to happen to the home till insurance contents have been settled. So that could take some time. They're on round 2 of a new company counting.
Yeah, that's a very unfortunate situation.
So, that this may be, this request though would be pertaining to these owners rebuilding, but if they don't rebuild, it doesn't extend to somebody else, correct?
So I believe they'd have a year from the date in which you award the variance in order to construct. Brad, is that correct?
That's a good question. I'm trying
Yeah.
to-
Yeah, and it wasn't so
I'll
much
look
the
that
time
up.
where if they decide to sell the lot, you wouldn't say,
Right, the
well,
variance
the
goes with
variance
the,
is-
yeah, that's what
Yeah.
the question is.
I believe it's 1 year in order to bring into
So you're
effect.
just representing them?
I'm representing them. I would like to build for them, but I'm not forcing. I understand their situation.
Yeah.
I mean, the cost of construction, I told her, is probably, $210 in the north for being a ranch, and it was amazingly detailed what she had in the home before the fire. I mean, of woodworks and
Yeah.
nice things that the home had in it. So they have a lot of medical needs. They go to Chicago frequently for, and it's just emotionally hard for them just dealing with insurance and the fight. They've hired an attorney. So I don't have a lot of solid answers. I am sorry. It's a week by week change, honestly, of new information and what is happening in their situation.
So you're gonna be the builder?
They want to have me build if
Okay.
they can build. It's just the cost maybe more than they could financially swing.
Yeah.
And what they get from insurance versus the cost to put something back. I don't have all those solid answers. I proposed them a plan. There's some details to tweak and work out if they would like a price. But right now, she's really trying to just get through step one of content with them.
Yeah.
And that's just, there's a lot of emotion when it's yourself. I'm not in their shoes. I can separate it as a business.
Yeah,
But, she's just dealing with a lot.
yeah.
Clarification on the timeline, Village Code provides in 10.2C, subparagraph 6, that the commencement of construction must occur within 90 days of the award of the variance, and construction completed in accordance with the normal requirement for completion of work under our code. And it can be, if it's granted and work isn't started within 90 days, it can be reinstated, but you have to go back through the same process.
So if a project is started in 90 days but doesn't get finished in a year, then,
And I think we have certain provisions under our code for the timeline within which
Okay.
you have to complete a project, so it would be no different than any other
Right.
permitted project. I think normally when we have deadlines to commence construction, a lot of times that's permit pulled, to where they can start.
So you can pull the permit, or you can apply for the permit once it's issued. So, that's starting, once the permit's
So,
issued.
in their situation, they're not allowed to even demolish the house. And then you're looking into winter situations that are coming quickly. That's why I was trying to eventually approach her with, hey, let's get this variance process started so we can move on before winter, at least getting everything and everyone in line with foundations and have it done before winter concrete issues came into play. And then, the whole content thing kind of blew up and people stole things from their home, and it's starting all over again.
Yeah.
So what 1% of the little things that survive, people took, that we're working to count the contents.
Yeah, I don't know if you could get that thing done before winter. I mean,
Well,
as a
and
builder,
that's
there's
where, you
no
give
way.
90 days, and it's like, I'm still not even,
Yeah, you don't have any money
insurance
to
has just got their
pay.
hands tied, but, initially, when this thing was moving, it seemed to be like moving along rather quickly, and then other things,
It stopped.
insurance has stopped everything since I had filed, but Brad encouraged me to continue, since letters had been mailed, to go ahead with this variance meeting and not delay it another month or see what new progress with insurance was at.
Yeah, I'm all for it. Go
I'm
ahead.
just going to
Pat.
offer, you have the ability to table it if, based on the progress of the insurance thing, it doesn't appear probable that you'd be able to get be to a point where you'd be requesting and receiving a permit in the next 90 days. If you table it, then that saves us from having to restart the whole process in a month or 2 months or 3 months.
Well, that's what I just wonder if we'd save her time if we would table it. I'm all for it. It's an unfortunate situation. The house has sat there for a long time. I don't really see any problems with what you want to do with it. But I'm just thinking if we weigh this, and we all know insurance companies, it's going to be a long time before it.
And insurance is, and it could be legally filed, it's given them less than a year. Usually most policies gives you 360 days from the day of the fire to rebuild, and they're trying to shorten them to like 180. And they're making their improvisations almost
They're in for
impossible.
a terrible fight.
I mean, when you're fighting winter conditions and, and they put such a lock on things. And so it's just a lot of questions, and I don't know, have all your answers at this moment, and I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't know if there would be, due to their circumstances, an extension of the 90 days with the fact that they can't even touch the situation. Is there, is it strictly based on that, or is there based on when the house is demolished and released from insurance?
Well, if it gets to that point, you'd have to pull a permit
It's-
anyway.
Yeah, you.
Right, well, you're at the
demolition
demo
permit.
plan.
And then that would give you your
Right.
year to,
At this point, I mean, it's still tied up, and who knows how long, and they won't release the demolition to happen until contents have been settled and agreed. And they're at a far separation right now.
Well, it sounds like if we didn't table it and it was approved and it didn't get started in time, it would just have to come back through the process.
Yeah.
We
I
just
mean,
do
is it the
this
fee,
again.
you reapply and everything all over again, or is it,
Yes.
you have to start the whole process again?
May
But-
I ask Pat, legal counsel, if they pull a permit to demolish, would that be considered, it's got to be the permit to
The
rebuild?
language of the code is work or construction shall commence within 90 days. I suppose if they pulled a demo permit, that's necessary work to enable construction.
So if you're comfortable or more confident it could be demolished, or at least a permit is applied for within 90 days, that,
I mean, the demo permit could be applied for, but I don't know, at that point, still where they would be at with rebuilding and new construction, and, if they're comfortable enough with finances to do it, or just sell the lot and let someone else build on it, So I don't have all those answers at this point. The plan is kind of, it took them a while to finally decide on a
Yeah.
situation that would work for them.
I think the best thing we can do for you, for them, is we'll table it, and then when you get some, solid, what they want to do, you don't have, we could just, whatever month, you can just come back, and, because she can pull a demo permit, can't she, without
Yes.
a variance?
yes.
Yeah, so you can pull that if it comes down to that, and then just come back. I don't think, that way it gives you a little more time to kind of get this whole thing, because I had a devastating fire, and it does take a lot of time. It's
But if
not
we-
an easy process.
If we put it through now, or I have to reapply, it's still another fee
No.
for them.
If they vote on it tonight and it's approved and you don't start in the 90 days, then yes, you have to reapply and it's another
But if I
fee.
table it, it's,
You table
you don't
it,
have
there's
to
no
reapply.
fee. Okay, so it gives them more time, is what you're
yes,
saying.
yeah, you would give
So-
more time.
Can I give some feedback? Are we in agreement that you will let this go through, this variance that is requested?
As
I
far
mean,
as-
I don't want to vote, but are we in the favor of this to let them rebuild? I just need to,
They had a terrible fire like that. Yeah,
I mean, you seem sympathetic, but I'm not wanting to vote,
yeah.
but I just kind of
I
need
just
to
don't
know
wanna-
which way is
I
the
don't
plan
want
B
to grant
gonna
a
be
variance.
needed?
They build a house and then somebody sells it right away to, to make a quick buck.
I agree. I mean, given the parameters, now if they drastically change the plan, then that's a different story, but I don't see a big issue with it.
I think our best bet's to table it.
I agree.
Okay, so table it, and I could contact Brad
Yes.
at a later time to move forward
Yep,
and just
when you
pick
get
up
more
again. And
info.
it's not really reapplying for the variance, just tabled.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we won't have to do a legal notice, we won't have to do letters to the neighbors.
Okay, thank you.
If, the only thing would be if, we don't hear anything for 6 months on what's going on,
Okay.
and 6 months isn't a magic number, but the ZBA would have the authority to put it on a future agenda. That wouldn't happen without notice. You guys are the property owners. But I think there comes a time when it can be tabled too long, and we don't want it held open for an indeterminate period of time. So we'll table it for now, and everything you said is correct, just with the caveat that you may get a call that says it's been 6 months and we're going to put it back on the agenda, and somebody needs to come and tell the ZBA why there's more time needed on that.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. All right.
Thank you. All right, now, do I hear a motion? How would the correct
It'd be a motion to
verbiage?
table.
Motion to
Mr.
table.
Chairman, I make a motion that we table case number 2205.
Second.
Handback,
Yes.
Butterfield,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
Kelso,
Yes.
Bartholomew.
Yes.
Table is approved.
So, if any questions, just call Brad.
Yep,
He's always available.
true.
Okay, with that, we don't have any other business. Brad, you have any comments?
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Trustee Hilliard?
None tonight, Mr. Chairman.
All right, then I hear a motion for adjournment. Thank you.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourned.
Meeting is adjourned.